There are 4 chapters, right? Shivika has come, right? Okay, so I will give you a resume, and then when necessary, I'll put the book on the thing, right? See, the first thing is the difference between a spiritual society and a normal society. The normal society, that is our society as it is, its roots are in the gregarious instinct. See, we like to meet people, we like to socialize, more or less, that might vary. But the basic point is that you don't choose your friends. Friends come because, right? So you don't choose your family also, right? Now this gregarious instinct brings people with common interests, common aims, common goals together. And unfortunately, at the same time, there are different interests also. And therefore, if you look at your relationship with most people, you will find that there are areas of interest, there are areas where we are not interested, which might also lead to conflict sometimes. So, inevitably, we have to try to solve this contradictions, right? The common points as well as the points that are not common. And so we set up a patchwork, a kind of contract. If you look carefully, marriage is nothing else but this. It's a contract agreement, right? Contract between husband and wife, right? Now, when this contract takes place and it continues for some time, it becomes a social law. So the root of all laws are that it is not created from above, although we try to give that feeling that it is God who created this, right? But it is really when people come together with commonality of interests and differences, we have organized some kind of patch-up, which is first a contract and then becomes a social law. So please realize and look at your own lives. Every social law that man has created has both advantages and disadvantages. But because the advantages are heavier than the disadvantages, we accept that law. Right? And you will find now continual discussion taking place on hundreds of points, right? And whether people, capital punishment, right? Etc., etc., right? So all these, every time you make a law, be rest assured that there are advantages, there are disadvantages. When the disadvantages are heavier, then you say remove this law and change it. When on the whole it is benefiting society, we allow it and accept that there are disadvantages, therefore we cannot, right? And that can easily be understood, right? It says, sorry, the voice is not clearly audible. Is it true?
I can hear you.
Shivika, can you hear me clearly? Hello?
Yes, Kittu, I can hear you.
Okay, then it's all right. Perfect. Right. So now, every social law that we have created has got these advantages and disadvantages. When the disadvantages become more, or when our concepts change, right, then we try to change the law. So this is the first thing about a normal society. In a spiritual society, it is not the gregarious instinct that will bring you together. It is the perception and the feeling that my contact with such and such a person will help me to go to a higher level of consciousness, will make me more and more spiritual. This is the basic difference between the two. And that is why in the ashram, in the early days when spirituality was very intense, the sadhaks had very little contact with each other, except during work, where they had to contact with each other. But parties and socializing and chatting, all that was completely out, right? Because every contact that you have must be something which will raise you to a higher level of consciousness. This is the whole difference between a normal society and a spiritual society. Now, if you have taken up the spiritual life, and although you are in society, it is not possible to cut off all connections, that I agree. But if you are serious about your spiritual life, you'll have to be very selective. And sometimes even people who have been close to you, if they pull you down, you have to keep away from them. So this is the first thing that you have to understand. The second point, very essential, is that in the normal society, all of us, we look at others as a mind, a life, and a body. We say there is a soul, but we don't look into it because we have not discovered our own soul. Until you have discovered your own soul, you can't look into other people's soul. Sparks, there might be touches. So the second one is that we look at man as a mind, a life, and a body. And therefore, all our problems have to be solved on this level. Sometimes physical, sometimes vital. And today it is being accepted that more or less by mental reasoning, we will try to solve the problems. A court is nothing else but the application of the mind to solve the problems of society. So you see now this is a very important thing to understand. In a spiritual society, on the contrary, you will try to impose a kind of spiritual pressure which is internal and not external, which will awaken something deeper in the person with whom you are dealing. And then when he comes in contact with that something deeper, it is possible that he himself will make the effort to rise higher. Now this was exactly, or almost exactly, and almost all the time, the mother's way of dealing with the sadhaks. Because she tried to awaken in them, not like a schoolmaster, not by punishing, except in very rare occasions, right? When it was very disturbing to the whole of society, she tried to touch something inside you which awakened the need, the urge, the desire to conquer your own weaknesses. I mean, I don't want to give names and examples, but by the hundreds you get this kind of thing in the ashram. Therefore, she was very patient. She allowed you to find out by yourself, and then little by little, you overcame all these problems. Right? So this is the main difference between the two societies. Now Sri says that if you look at society in general, you will find that hardly any society has survived. However great and however powerful they were, look at the ancient Greek society, there is nothing of that left anymore. Look at the Roman Empire, nothing of that left anymore. Look at the Egyptian culture, which was so highly developed. Those wonderful pyramids that they had brought in, right? All these have disappeared. In a certain sense, probably the only civilization and culture that has survived is the Indian culture. And Sri writes categorically in the foundation of Indian culture in many other places, that India has been survived only because it somehow kept that spirituality alive and burning. When I say somehow, there were times when it seemed that it would be completely removed, but as a matter of fact, we have managed. And again, if you look at Indian history, you will find that many, many times we are apparently going down and Indian culture would disappear. At those crucial moments, some spiritual personalities came and saved the country. So, in the Middle Ages, it was Chaitanya and Mirabai and a whole lot that came in. In the modern time, it was Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Dayananda Saraswati, and later on Sri Aurobindo. It is that which has kept the culture going. So, those modern Indians and many Westerners who decry Indian spirituality do not know how much harm they are doing to India. Right? But the point is that it has to become a living, dynamic, and this you can't expect from the mass, but at least the leaders of society, the opinion makers, which means those journalists, etc., if they were turned spiritually and made an effort, it would be extremely useful. So this is the two basic differences between a spiritual society and a normal society. Now this has a very practical implication even for you people who are not living in the ashram, in an ashram. You have contacts, plenty of contacts, family contacts, social contacts. Now, if you are serious about your spiritual life, you have to balance these social obligations with your spiritual aspiration. If you find that this is tending to pull you down, these contacts are tending to pull you down, you have to be a little careful. But if you are not following the spiritual life, it does not matter. Then all contacts you can have fun, enjoy life. There is no problem on that score at all. However, a problem comes up. When you say spirituality, very often in the normal human mind, it tends to think that it is religion, right? And so the spirituality becomes religion, and religion becomes rituals, rites, ceremonies, dogmas, etc., 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 etc. And that kind of spirituality, which is centered around religion, can never lead the human society. So the first defect is that there is a misunderstanding of spirituality. Spirituality is often understood, very often understood, or associated with religion. Not that religion has no place. It has its place at the early stages of human development. But it cannot replace spirituality. So religion has to graduate towards spirituality. It's a slow process. It's an individual process. And each one has to find out how much religion is there within him and how much spirituality is there within him, and try more and more to move up to this. So this is the first very serious misunderstanding. The second very serious misunderstanding is that very often spirituality is associated with the rejection of life. So they will say, don't be in a family, don't get married, don't be in a family, don't do business, don't do politics, don't do this, don't do that. Retire from life, so to say, and but that doesn't solve any problem, right? The problem is has to be tackled in a different way. We have to take up every aspect of life, every legitimate aspect of life, not criminality, but every legitimate aspect of life. And however cruel it might seem at the beginning, little by little, little by little, raise it up to a higher, first higher mental level, and then ultimately to a spiritual level. So this is the second basic concept that we must get clear. spirituality need not be associated with religion. Although religion has a place, but it has a very minor place. And the moment you become rigid and insistent on these dogmas and externals, spirituality is being killed and being replaced by something else. That is number one. Second is, do not refuse any activity in life. Because you see, in life you will meet all kinds of things. Accept them as a challenge by which you can benefit from them. Even if things seem to be pulling you down, face it square and raise the whole thing to a higher level. And so this is the second point. So if these 2 points are understood, then spirituality can become the guiding force of life. But the whole tendency is, right? Now, normally in a spiritual institution or in a spiritual discipline, your liberty is curtailed very much. And the curtailing of that liberty can never help you to grow into spirituality. See, laws means curtailing of freedom. Every law is, in a sense, a restriction to your freedom. Every law, right? Now, if you want to, this is all right, it is very desirable for society. But if you want to become spiritual, truly spiritual, you have to decide to make the change from inside and not from external pressure. There are all kinds of external pressures. Sri Aurobindo has explained in one of his books, The Ideal of Humanity. He speaks first of the most powerful internal pressure, and slowly I'll explain it to you. He says the normal human individual, or not the normal, the human individual is kept under control by 5 elements. If his soul is active, powerful, and dynamic, that itself will keep your lower nature under control. So that is very, very rare. 1 in, God knows, 100 million or whatever it is. It's a very rare phenomenon. When the soul is active, you control your lower nature. The second one is that in the absence of that, it is your ethical being, your sense of good and your sense of bad. As you grow up, you believe this is right and that is not right. Each one has got his own individual ethical sense. And if that ethical sense is well developed, that's a very powerful check on the human being. But that is not at a spiritual level, that is at the mental, higher mental level. In the absence of that, it is public opinion. What others think about you. And this is an extremely powerful influence which keeps a large number of human beings, almost all, under some kind of check. In fact, in Greece, when they started this study of ethics, they started like this. They said that there was a ring which was known as Guy's ring, Gyge. And the moment you put on that ring, you became invisible if the ring was facing upwards. If you turn that ring downwards, then everybody could see you. So one young man discovered this ring, found out this ring, and saw that it had tremendous power. So he was in a company, he was in a group. He turned the ring upwards. He became invisible. And then he could hear all the criticism that was against him, all the nonsense that people were talking about him. Then after some time, he turned the ring downwards, and suddenly he was there in the midst. See, now there is a message behind this. That this is a tremendous power. When I can do a thing secretly, when nobody knows what I'm doing, it's an extremely powerful, dangerous power. Therefore, I've asked many of my students, in fact, all my students, that suppose you are given this ring, would you do many things now which you are not doing? And they all laughed and said, absolutely. Right? Because what keeps us under control is, oh, that man is talking ill of me. They have said this thing about me. It might be absolutely true, but it is very disturbing. Therefore, as Mother says, if you want to take up spiritual life, yoga, you must not be the slightest disturbed by what other people think about you. That's a terrific liberation. It is not easy at all. Right? So, in the absence of that, it is public opinion. And so, one has to do a lot of things secretly. Society has realized that this is a very grave danger. Therefore, they have brought in these two new words in collective life: transparency. Every decision that is taken should be open and public. And the second one is this right to information, RTI, because it is another word for transparency, right? And especially when you are in power, by which I don't mean only Prime Minister or President, even a teacher is in power, even if he has a class of 5 students, because he has the power to write a report which might damage their career or help their career. These reports must not be confidential to the student. They should be confidential to others. But the student must have a right to see what people write about it. Right? This is the new trend that is taking place. Right? So it is only in liberty and as much liberty as possible that human society can grow and develop. I mean, spiritually, right? In the normal society, you have to make laws, you have to have policemen, you have to have courts, you have to arrest them, make them criminals, put them into jail. That is all right. But if you claim that you are going towards a spiritual society, right, it is in complete freedom that you have to change. What is the consequence? You reject nothing. Accept everything as they come. See what is false in them, and then by your own aspiration and movement, offer them to the divine and raise up. Right? In the meanwhile, you will make a lot of mistakes. It is impossible to start from the first day without making mistakes. But every mistake becomes a stepping stone towards a greater future. Right? So, as Sri Aurobindo says, it is very important to understand that philosophy must be given complete freedom, art must be given freedom in the spiritual society, and it is through that that gradually one grows out. And so, as it says in philosophy, even atheism is a very important step towards discovering the divine. Sri Aurobindo is very clear, and Nana, I will send you something one of these days. Just as we have prepared homage to Sri Aurobindo, I am now in the process of preparing one homage to Mother. And there you will find in one of her own phrases that I was an outright atheist when she was young. Outright atheist. I'll send you the passage. You'll see how strong it was. Therefore, atheism is very often a very genuine step towards true spirituality. Because spirituality has to be experienced. It is not to be talked about. I mean, talking is all right, reading is all right, they are useful things, but ultimately you have to experience it. If you have not experienced it, you can never understand what it is. A person who has not tasted sugar or a sweet You can give him any amount of lectures, he will not know what it is to taste sweet. If you want him to understand, just give him one sweet, and in 1 minute he will understand. So ultimately, as Shrivindu says, everything is based on experience. You must try to get the experience in the full of life without rejecting anything. Of course, that choice you have to make. You will find that there are certain elements within us which are very corrosive, which pull us down. Keep it away till you are in a position of strength by which even that element can be raised up. So that is an individual decision. Each one has to find out for himself how he can go about this. Right? So if this is understood, you have got a very important idea of Sri Aurobindo, the integral yoga. See, that's why in the ashram there is so much freedom. And quite naturally, there might be misuse of freedom also, but it is inevitable. You can't expect people to use freedom in the right way right from the beginning. As long as it is not seriously harmful to others or seriously harmful to oneself, one has to be allowed a certain liberty. So the hallmark of a spiritual society is liberty, because you cannot, as when the mother has never handled persons like a schoolmaster, right? Giving them marks and punishing them or anything of the kind. She brings forward to them their deeper element, and if they understand, well, it is their choice. Some understand, some don't understand, some wait for some time. I'll give you one conversation on the mother. One of our students, my colleagues, asked the mother in a class that, "Mother, we have been here for such a long time. Are you satisfied with our progress?" The mother said, "No, not at all. Because so easy. Whenever you have a question, whenever you have a doubt, you come straight to me and ask me, I always answer. Outside, you would have to hunt for a guru. That itself is a difficult time, and that guru might not even answer many of your questions. Here, I have given you answers for everything. It has become so easy for you that you look upon what I say like opening the window to let in fresh air or drinking a glass of water. There's no value. But I have not given up hope. I still believe that slowly one day, suddenly something will touch you. And when that something touches you, you will make up your mind and you will plunge into spiritual life. You will be able to do in a short time what you did not do in so many years. Because spiritual growth is a growth which is based entirely on freedom. I don't think that it is possible to apply this in the school. It will take a long time. But I certainly believe that parents can apply this gradually. Naturally, when they are 9 or 10, they don't even know what is wrong. And they do all kinds of very foolish things. But little by little, you have to awaken in them that sense, which will take them to a higher, which will give them that aspiration. Right? And it is not by force or by compulsion, but by your own personality and by your own spiritual influence upon your children. So basically, that is all that I wanted to say, right? So as Shrivindu says at the very end of the chapter, Sarva Bhavena, that means in every possible way, you express the divine. Now, if anybody has any questions, you are free to ask. But as I said, go back to the book read it carefully and in light of what I've explained, you will find it is much easier. And also it is very much more helpful to you. And then if you have questions, you can always ask by email. Otherwise, just absorb it. So any questions, Donna or Shivika or Varsha?
No.
I don't have any questions today.
I also don't. Thank you.
No questions. Kittu.
I
I will
No
maybe
questions.
email later.
Shivika, do you have anything?
I will
Anything
email you,
else?
Kittu. As of now, no.
Your child is with you, no?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I could see her. Very good. Oh, she can see me
Hello,
maybe?
Kittu.
Hello. Next time you come to Pondicherry with your child, you bring him to my house.
Yeah,
Right?
sure, sure. I'll do that, Kittu.
So otherwise, Donna, any questions? Anybody has anything?
No, thank you.
I didn't see Acharya today. I didn't see Acharya. Doesn't matter. It is all recorded, so you have always time to listen to it carefully at your leisure. Right.
We've started a new Twitter account for ROE Learning, so we'll be putting the video on the Twitter.
I saw that. I saw that letter to you. Let's see how people respond. Anyway, that is not no importance for me whether they respond or not. I have done my work, and then God willing, it will take its course.
Thank you, Kittu Da.
Okay, so then we can stop for today.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll pick it up next week with the next chapter.
Yeah, the next chapter is very
Thank you,
interesting.
Kittu.
There are some very nice ideas. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.